Hello, thank you so much for joining me here today. Welcome to your reading about turning weaknesses into strengths. So you might have a blind spot about something that's not really working for you, or you may be aware of a weakness that you have, something that you want to shift or transform. But if you're not really sure how to do that or where to start, this reading could help you out with that. So a weakness and a strength are like two sides of the same coin. So the idea for transforming it is in the concept of transmutation. So making two opposites join to transcend into the greater whole, the unity of those two concepts, resolving the polarity, in other words. So there's three choices to pick from today for your reading. The first one is this little ruby. That's group 1. Okay. Group 2 is this orange sapphire. And for group 3, we have this garnet stone. Okay. So if you need a little bit more time to make your selection, you can just pause the video here. And I'll see you at your reading. Okay, group 1, hello, those of you who chose the ruby stone for your reading. Welcome, thank you so much for being here. So let's get started on your reading, turning weaknesses into strengths. And we'll start first by getting the baseline of what this potential or perceived weakness is. So Spirit, please describe the weakness that group 1 should transform into strength. This is the 5 of Wands that was sort of angling to come out but didn't. Oh, okay. Here we go. So Knight of Cups in reverse. Turn it to you. And Judgment in reverse. Oh. And the 10 of Cups in reverse. Okay, we'll get a couple more cards. I like to get 5 for the baseline, but sometimes Spirit only has 3 or 4 to communicate, which is fine. I just like to check. Okay, no, that's it. All right, so let's start off here, describing the weakness. Okay, group 1. It seems like you have a little bit of a superiority thing going on, or maybe a judgmental thing where you can get up on your high horse, and this is motivated by emotion. So you might start to feel like, the emotional life is activating, and you feel like you know the truth, or you know what's best, you know what's right, you know what's wrong, for somebody else. That's the key here for the shift. You can't really know that. You're projecting from your own experience, your own perception, your own personal evolution, and that might not be applicable to another being, because we're all created differently, all equal but unique. So your advice might not be the right fit for somebody else and where they are in their personal process. So judgment seems to be the weakness, and kind of like maybe there's an aspect of being controlling and telling people what to do. And from your point of view, it is coming from a place of love. You're trying to offer something beautiful and helpful, and you're being caring, but you may need to hear and understand that it's not being received well. People are hearing it and feeling criticized or shut down or put down. And maybe the next step of your evolution here is to learn how to receive what the other person is telling you, or receive what the other person is feeling. It might even be a child here, and not judge it as wrong. So there's another option here. Maybe you have a very strong reaction to other people's emotional experiences, and when they're negative or they make you uncomfortable, you might try to shut it down. So something for your growth could be to learn how to sit with that discomfort, Practice taking the awareness off of that other person and bringing it back towards you, yourself, your body, your internal world, and focus on the sensation that is being brought up within you when you observe that other person's behavior or emotion or decision. And you might find that there's a discomfort that's rising up within you, or an uncomfortable or so-called negative emotion that's rising up within you when you experience that other person's energy or their expression. And that would be the thing to address first. So you can practice non-reactivity to your own emotional experience and shift into being curious what it is about your feeling, and notice that if it's an uncomfortable or yucky sensation, what's your automatic reaction? Do you try to block it? Do you try to change what's happening on the outside to make the discomfort go away? What do you do in order to make that discomfort within you stop? And that might shed a light for you on how you might be inadvertently or unconsciously controlling others in order to make yourself comfortable. Okay, so that went into the advice portion a little bit. Maybe I got carried away, but I was feeling that coming through in the cards. So there's a nice lesson here for you. And there's no judgment. I didn't qualify at the beginning when I was doing the little intro, but a weakness is not something that's bad or wrong about you. It's just a quality that needs more attention in order to evolve and develop and mature. So we all have strengths and we all have weaknesses. There's no perfected human. And this is just about self-awareness. And if you resonate with the advice, if you resonate with what's coming through the cards, then perhaps you'd like to observe yourself and compare whether or not you'd like to take on board what I'm saying, or reevaluate the way that you're doing things or perceiving things. And if not, that's also fine. You just let it go and move on to something else that you feel is a better fit for you. So let's continue and get some advice for you about how to transform this weakness. Actually, no, I'm hearing we need to learn a little bit more about how this is showing up for you. Wheel of Fortune. Whoa. Okay, that was the Chariot and the Five of Cups. Okay, so you might be noticing that people are not sticking around so much, and you might be feeling lonely or abandoned, or like you can't understand why there aren't as many friends in your life as there once were. Maybe when you try to give advice or you want to hear advice, there aren't so many ears to hear you out anymore, and you could be feeling just a little bit abandoned. Like you still have resources, you still have friends, you still have company, but they're just not as available as they were in the past, or they're not listening to you as deeply. Like you feel that people are distracted or trying to get away from the conversation or trying to escape you. And that might have to do with this style that you have of hearing people or jumping to conclusions and giving advice before you fully hear a person out. So if you're feeling like there are not quite as many people around you as there were before, or people spend less time with you than they have in the past, it could be the result of the cause and effect of the way that people feel you deal with them. Okay? So the shift here could be about learning to attune and hear and receive more what they're telling you, rather than trying to be heard first. So let's shift onto the advice for you. Group 1, Spirit, please can you get advice for Group 1? Okay, so we've got the 3 of Wands in reverse, Page of Pentacles upright. So it would look this way to you. Okay, Page of Pentacles upright. Okay, and we have upright the 4 of Wands, and in reverse the 7 of Pentacles. So your advice, Group 1. Yeah, so it's similar. So we've got the wands in reverse and the coins upright. So you need to get your feet a little bit more on the ground. Maybe you're going into a dissociative state, or you're just going really quickly into your imagination, into creativity, into advice giving mode when people share with you, when they open up. And you need to ground yourself a little bit more and mature your listening ears, which also has to do with maturing your emotional ears. So learning that yes, sometimes when people are speaking about painful things, it's also painful to hear them, because we are creatures of compassion. We have mirror neurons. We receive and sense and feel energetically, emotionally, neurologically the experience of another human being, and it mirrors on us. So if somebody is sharing with you something that is negative or painful, it's very, 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 very likely that you're going to feel that negativity also. So you might be very quick to jump the gun and try to shut it down. And you may be totally unconscious of this process and not realizing that the people around you are being felt unheard, and it's actually like twisting their pain up. Their emotional and psychological pain is increasing just mildly as a result of the way that you're listening or trying to listen or caring for them. So it seems like you have some what they call distress tolerance skills to build. And the first section I spoke about becoming more aware of your somatic experience, your body experience, sensing more into what sensation your body is providing for you, and noticing and practicing not reacting to the unpleasant, uncomfortable sensations. So for your information, that's a survival instinct, right? Like even bacteria will automatically instinctively try to remove themselves from, let's say, if you introduce a toxin into their area, or even think a negative or hostile thought towards them, they'll instinctively pull away from that. So we have the same reaction when we feel something negative, like a negative emotion, but we can transform that and expand our ability to tolerate things that are uncomfortable or perceptively negative, and that can create more heart space for people to heal within your presence. And this could also be very healing for you, because chances are almost 100% certain, 99.99, that if you're doing this with other people, you have the same instinctive reaction to your own negative experience. So when you feel something negative rising up within you, you probably have the habit to distract, to run, to look elsewhere, to look for pleasure, to look for something that makes you feel good, some instant gratification in order to escape that feeling of pain. But you might recognize, if you start to look into practices of somatic experiencing or emotional processing techniques, that in fact it's not quite as enlarged as you think it is. Sometimes the fear of feeling it, or the reaction to the unpleasant sensation, is stronger, more potent, more frightening than the emotion itself. So yeah, some skills to build here, just in terms of emotional self-awareness and expanding your ability to tolerate the unpleasant. Yeah, and that'll give you a lot more growth and a lot more satisfaction and fulfillment, not only in your own life, because you'll be able to go deeper and further and broader with the things that you enjoy, and not get held back or bounced back when something feels uncomfortable. So your life might feel a little bit narrow right now, and maybe that's why things feel a little bit closed down, or just empty is the wrong word, but thin, like there's not a lot of substance that you're feeling at the moment, and your relationships might be feeling the same way. And learning to hear and feel people without trying to escape the discomfort will bring more love and light and joy and connection into your life. So I think that's all I have for you today, Group 1. Thank you so much for being here. Take good care. Wish you well. Group 2, hello. Thank you so much for being here. Those of you who chose the orange sapphire, welcome. Thank you for being here. Okay, so let's get started on your reading, Group 2. Let's get a baseline first of this so-called weakness to be transformed into strength. Okay, so first we have the Ace of Coins coming out upright. Okay, the Three of Pentacles in reverse. here, the Ace of Swords upright. I think we're just going to have 3. I was saying to group 1, I like to get 5 normally, but sometimes that's not in the cards, not in the message. Let's see if there's any more about the weakness, the baseline of it, please. Yes, okay. 8 of Swords upright. And the 5 of Cups upright. Okay, group 2. There we go. Oh, okay, so you might be a little bit of a perfectionist, which is something you probably know already, where you're wanting to get everything polished and perfect and just right before you move ahead or before you show anybody something that you've created. So maybe you've aborted a lot of projects because you felt like they just weren't up to snuff. The result wasn't what you were after, or it didn't quite represent that level of excellence that you wanted to demonstrate. So you have a very strong mind, strong intellect, and a strong imagination. You like to make agreements and deals and really move full steam ahead with that, but you kind of you stop yourself in your own tracks because you start to doubt whether or not you can follow through or carry through that which you want to express. So you have an ideal that you're holding in your imagination and your vision that you want to create exactly as you see it, and it keeps you bound up in stuckness. So maybe you just get 1/4 of the way through a project or through a goal and you give up because things aren't going the way that you want them to go, or the result isn't looking the way that you want it to look. So there's a bit of a learning curve with everything that we try, and there's always going to be a call and response. You know, creation is a playful practice, so you feed into the reality field and it gives you a response. You feed into the reality field and it gives you a response. And it's an iterative process, creation. So you take the feedback that you get and you need to digest that response into a new answer. And that's how you create with more stability, more efficiency, and with more progress long term. So it might seem like it's a bit slow to work that way because you like that instant result and you want that instant result to be perfect. But as you know, as you've discovered, things don't always flow that way. So there's an adjustment that needs to be made in the way that you expect things to go, and building in a little bit more flexibility and adaptability into that whole process of creation. So your expectation for the end result doesn't need to be modulated, but what you expect the process to be like does. You need to be a little bit more open-minded and flexible about how you get to the result that you want. Okay. All right, so let's continue. What do we need to know for you? I want to clarify this Ace of Swords. There's so much energy in this card. Okay, 4 of Swords upright. Yeah, so there's an expression of a huge potential within you. There's a lot that you have to offer, to share, to create. It's like there's a very youthful, fiery energy about you, but there's so many swords, 1, 2, 3, on the table here. Deferring or deterring you away from actually achieving and accomplishing the results that you want. Maybe you're overthinking, maybe you're overanalyzing, or maybe there's just blankness in your mind. At a certain point, you overload from overwhelm and you just shut down or dissociate, and then the whole thing stops, because through that dissociation you're disembodying and you can't action your inspiration, your energy through your physicality to make these things that you want to make happen to happen. Let's another clarifier, please, for the Ace of Swords. No, we're going to move on to the 8. Ooh, Swords right away. Okay, so 6 of Pentacles in reverse. Clarify that one. imbalance in the way that you're proceeding in your projects, and I'm actually sensing that there's a childhood wound here. So I'm not going to draw a card just yet, because I want to explain to you that what I feel is in your childhood you weren't met properly with the resource of being supported. So you get this, like, the inspiration activates, right? Like you feel the impulse coming from within that it's time to create. And then maybe when you were 2 years old, 3 years old, you would gather up that force, that power, that desire, and like huge energy, like a locomotive, just picking up steam. And then as you bring that idea forward into the world, like starting to pick up your blocks to create it, or trying to explain your idea to recruit others into it, you would get shut down. So nobody would join with you properly to help you continue with this momentum that your inspiration wanted you to build in order to fulfill this dream or this vision, and it would just get closed down. So it feels like you're reliving this stereotype that you internalized of like that buildup of, oh, I want to make this happen, and then someone closing it down. So there's a need for others, companionship, people who you trust, or maybe people who you hire, or maybe just people that you have not necessarily an actual relationship with, but like maybe like tutoring or learning or coaching, you know, some figures on social media that you can connect with to motivate and inspire you and help you feel like there are people who are in the ring with you, who are in your boat, or just like on board with your project, who will support you. So you need to feel that energy, that psychological need, that human need of support. That resource needs to be unlocked and unblocked within you. You can do that with inner child work, going back and finding these memories or these moments where your life didn't align with you, like your environment, your people in your life didn't align with you to support and help you bring this project into creation, but rather closed you down. So that can be discovered, unearthed, and resolved. And you may also, you know, in a more immediate, superficial, and still important sense, look for ways to help you feel the experience and know the experience of receiving support for your ideas and your projects. So you might unconsciously not share them with people anymore because you have this memory of those ideas being shut down. So you have this like, well, why bother attitude. So there might actually be people in your life who you could resource and decide to share with, you know, test it out, some of your ideas, and see if they get excited for you, if they support you, even if they want to join you in bringing these things into creation. And that could do you a lot of good. So support, the key here for you, support, encouragement, and alignment. Like even somebody just agreeing with you that it's a good idea and like genuinely liking it could be what you need to get yourself to the next stage of creation. Okay, so let's get some advice for you. Okay, group 2. I think that's a little bit too much. We had the 9 of Wands fly out, so let's take that. Magician on the bottom, and let's see something else. Oh no, okay, we got it already. Okay, so it came out upright. So here we have a depiction of you, group 2, feeling battle weary from having to fight for your ideas, fight for your visions, fight for your self-expression. All you want really is to feel like just it's an easy walk through, you know, from where you are in terms of coming up with the inspiration into evolving it. Because you do have a lot of energy to make these things happen for yourself, but there's this like placidness, this stagnancy from the moment that the inspiration arises to the moment of creating it. So you may have some people who are in your life, in your background, maybe in your memory, who still have like little roots, their little root systems plugged into you, kind of holding you back. So maybe you were the one whose job it was, whose family role it was as a child, and this is parentification. So this in a healthy household, this would not have been the child's job. They would not have perceived it as their responsibility. But to be, the joker, the comedian, the one who brightens the mood, makes everybody happy. So your energy for creating your visions is being usurped into, and maybe still is, whether physically now or historically, and holding you back to being the one who makes unhappy people happy, who makes unhappy people laugh. You want to be the jester who kind of brightens the mood and cheers people up, and you don't need to give that up. It's a wonderful skill and quality if you have that, and that desire to make people happy also makes us happy. But it should not be at the expense of your vision, and it should not be using the energy that you want to invest into your vision. So there may be some things to learn about codependency, although that might be a little bit strong here, but just being more aware of when you're jumping into the role of the savior, and investing your energy into making yourself responsible for someone else's happiness rather than being your own light and contributing to the general happiness of your surroundings. So yes, I think that's all I have for you, Group 2. Thank you so much for being here. I wish you well. Take care. Bye for now. Hello, Group 3. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Those of you who chose the Garnet Stone, welcome. So let's get started on your reading and have a look at the weaknesses that could be transformed into strengths for you, Group 3. So we'll start by getting a baseline description, thank you, from Spirit about what that weakness is. So first we have the Seven of Wands coming out in reverse. Okay, the World in reverse and the Hierophant upright. Okay, so I feel already like you, Group 3, are your worst self-critic. You're very harsh with yourself. Your expectations are very high, not from others necessarily, although that might spill out, but you really have a very high expectation for yourself in terms of everything. Your performance, your results, your relationships, your fitness, everything. You really have an incredibly high standard for yourself, and you'd like to be perfect and polished in everything that you do and present. And it's not necessarily for you about how other people see you. It's more the standard that you have internally as a mode of self-respect and pride in your own being. Okay, so interesting to know that this is coming out being described as a weakness. So let's get the explanation for that. Why is this a weakness for this person for Group 3, please, Spirit? Okay, Ace of Wands upright and the Two of Cups upright. Interesting, the Two of Coins upright. The Eight of Swords in reverse. Okay, and now we're going to clarify the Two of Coins, please. Okay, Eight of Wands in reverse. Yeah, okay. So you're sort of missing the bigger picture with this self-perfectionism. You're getting really caught up in the details and the minutiae of daily life. Like, it doesn't matter so much if all the items in your fridge are perfectly aligned, or if the books in your bookshelf are color-coded or alphabetical or however you like to do it. It doesn't matter for the bigger picture of your soul's evolution, and your energy is going there rather than in the fulfillment of your soul's desires. So it's a bit obsessive and maybe a little bit compulsive, the way that you want everything to look and be perfect. And again, it's an internal battle. It's not so much rooted in your self-worth as it was with some of the other messages in the other groups. This is more about you learning to disconnect from and differentiate between what matters and what doesn't. So how to prioritize where your energy needs to go and where you're not going to get anything back. So the return on your investment is a little bit poor now in the way that you are setting your standards up, the way that you're prioritizing them. So this Two of Cups is talking about your relationship with your soul and the need to come more in tune with that and take the incentives and the priorities, the values from the information that's coming from your soul. Your soul's requesting that you reevaluate what you're making important, because you've got time here to create and to evolve and to grow and to access, develop your potentials. And with this skill that you have, this refinement for attention to detail and patience for perfection, you could create like wonderful, fantastic, incredible things, not just for yourself, but for humanity. And your soul is really excited about working through your body to make that happen. And right now it can't, because you have this idea, there's a conditioning or programming in your mind about perfection in the way that things look and appear, and it's hijacking your energy and your focus. So your soul wants you to refocus on what is important in terms of your evolution. So widen the spectrum a little bit and reevaluate how you want to activate this skill of yours. Let's clarify the Ace of Wands, please. Not sure if we need to. I think we said it all, but there's a message for you there, I feel. Yeah, kind of hidden. Yeah, Four of Swords in reverse. Interesting. It came out in the reading before and maybe also in group 1. But it speaks about dormant potential not being activated. So the Ace of Wands came out in reverse. Let's see, how can we make it so you see this? Yeah, Ace of Wands in reverse and upright, Four of Swords. So you are not fully, you're inverting your potential on yourself and you're making it go dormant. We need this to be upright and for that to not exist. Yeah, so that you can really advance your evolution. So let's get advice for you, group 3, of how we can dissolve this situation. Go get that sun on the bottom. Yeah, and I think it is difficult for you to shift out of this. I can feel that energy in me, and it's kind of working through me now, where I see, the camera's not perfectly framed, and maybe I put the card down on the wrong card where I pulled it from originally, and things aren't quite aligned. I feel the intensity of that and how just consuming it is to your awareness and to your focus. So I really want to help you find a solution to this. All these cards are trying to come out. Let's see if that makes sense. No, not quite. Okay, so advice, please, Spirit, how group 3 can break out of this pattern, out of this habit. Okay, I can feel the answer. I don't have the cards, but I feel the answer. It's about withdrawing your mental energy from the external world. So it's like you've got this really, really hyper-attuned awareness. You can sense and see very clearly all the small details of your environment. Like if there was a little bit of grout that was discolored, you would notice that. So you see a lot of visual detail. So the key for you here is to learn how to sort of unfocus the lens, so to speak. So the awareness needs to key out from the external visual cues and draw more back into your body. So if you saw or understood your awareness metaphorically, like light in a lantern, all of your focus is in the beams that are on the outside of the lantern shining out, and you need to pull your awareness back into the core, into the center of that lantern, into the origin of the light source, and connect your awareness with that first. It'll be through sensation. You might want to do it with eyes closed, and I suggest that you direct your focus to your heart center. and practice sensorially connecting with that, with your energetic heart, with your core, your central sun, and weaving your awareness more and more and more and more and more with that aspect of your being. And then having woven your awareness more deeply into your core, you can then observe your surroundings. And you may find that when you do so, having a nice grounded, secure placement in your core, that you're not so pulled out into the details anymore. You don't go into macro focus straight away, but you can observe more calmly in the center of your being, like you're in the eye of the storm, and your energy and your focus will stay woven into your core. You'll still be aware of the surroundings, but you won't be so like magnetized or sucked into them in the way that you feel so helpless except to pay attention to them. And you may notice also when you connect to your inner being that there's a very beautiful quality of perfection in that. And that perfection has nothing to do with three-dimensional symmetry. It's more about like just the quality of its essence is so incredibly beautiful, and being able to sense that and feel the impression that this makes upon you will help you to soften your focus also. And another thing you can do is when you go out in nature, for example, and you gaze at a flower or a tree or a grass blade or the sea or a body of water, if you have these things around you, look at them, look at them, and then notice all the details that you see, all the visual cues and sharpness and saturations of colors that you can see and feel. But then try to pull your attention inward and ask, okay, now what kind of impression has this image made on my soul? So the visual is a neurological experience, but then the impression is something that's totally separate. You're not receiving the object when you look at the impression that it makes on your soul, but you're sensing and feeling and knowing and understanding the effect that this has had on you, like the afterglow, your soul's experience of that visual cue. So those are two things that you could work with to help soften your gaze. And then having done so, and this is, a long practice perhaps, or maybe you'll pick up on it right away because you have a very strong intelligence about you also, which may have been undermined or underestimated or not fully validated in you. So that is there. You can trust that it's there, or take my words if you feel like drawn to that and investigate further for yourself. But you do have a very bright, polished mind, so the intelligence factor is there. And having done that, you can then start using this skill of inward attention and attention to the impressions to direct that into developing your potential and expanding. So maybe something like architecture or design or feng shui, things like this, you could be very, very, very good at, or graphic design, things that require visual cues, but it won't torture you anymore if you've evolved and integrated your internal world, like your core, into receiving and experiencing and perceiving these external cues. So not just experiencing them intellectually, analytically, and visually, neurologically, but also energetically, somatically, and spiritually. So yes, thank you very much, Group 3. That's all I have for you today. Wish you well. Take care. Bye for now.